Okay, since I couldn't be there this morning, I wanted to at least review the quiz that you got back as well as the study guide, just to give you some feedback. So first off on the quiz, I wanted to go through the right answers for the both sig figs and for density. Okay, and so on the first part here, the right answer is number 1 should have been only 2 significant figures. There is no decimal place. Then number 2 would have been 4 significant figures. You cross off the zeros out front, and so it would have been 4 sig figs. Number 3 would have been 5. The 0 at the end is to the right of the decimal place and after a number, so it also counts. Number 4 would have been 4. Even though it's in scientific notation, these zeros are to the right of the decimal place and after a number, so it's also 4. And then for number 5, it should be 3 because of that decimal place as well. Okay, then you get down to the math for this one, and number 6, there actually were 2 answers. 20 only has a whole number, so 24 was completely acceptable. Some people went as far as recognizing that number 20 doesn't have a decimal place, so they actually only gave me to the tens place and only gave me 20, which also I accepted either one. Number 7 should have been negative 78.22. Again, addition, subtraction, so fewest number of decimal places. Number 8, 9, and 10 are all multiplication and division, so therefore it is the fewest number of significant figures. So for example, number 8, those zeros out front do not count, so it should have been 0.2. Number 9 would have been 1.938 because you needed 4 significant figures. And number 10, this first one, 5.0, only has 2 sig figs, so it should have been 3.4 times 10 to the 23rd. Okay, is what we were looking for there. Now, on the back, remember when you do equation questions, here are the requirements. You have to have known and unknown, you have to have the equation and the variables, proper values plugged in, correct answer with the right number of sig figs and the right answer. So make sure you have all those things done when you're answering the questions on the test. So on the back here, the first one, you had the density you were solving for the volume. So you had the known and unknown, you had the equation. The correct answer with 3 significant figures should have been 60.6 milliliters. Okay, 60.6 milliliters. It was an algebra, you needed to get that V up top. Then number 12, also known and unknown, the equation, and number 12, you first had to find the volume of the cube. It was 4.1 centimeters on each side, so it should have been 69 centimeters cubed for the volume. You plug that in, and 2 sig figs, it should have been 490. 2 sig figs because at the very beginning, you only had 2 sig figs for your length values. Since it's multiplication division, you have to use the fewest number of sig figs, so it would have been 490. Okay, now I want to talk a little bit about the study guide, and particularly the math problems on the back, but a lot of this is just information based, so excuse me, you should be able to kind of solve those hopefully without too much of an issue. And then on the back side, just to show you some numbers here of what we should have gotten, you want to make sure number 7, A would have been 207.00 for the first one, and that would have had 5 significant figures. Okay, so we would have had 5 significant figures for this first one. Letter B would have only had 3. There is not a decimal place. 7C, you cross those off out front, you would have had 4. Letter D should have been 3 to the right of the decimal place after a number. That decimal place right there makes this one 5. And last but not least, you would have had 6. Okay, now if we scroll down here just a little bit, you're going to, find that we can do some more math on these. Let me erase those really quick. So for example, number 8, all right, is addition subtraction. So since this is a whole number, this should have either been 54. Technically there isn't a decimal place, you also could have had it as 50, but that should have been your right answer. Number 9 should have been negative 78.25. Again, addition, subtraction, fewest number of decimal places. Number 10, those zeros out front do not count, so it should have only been 0.2. Number 11, this one has 4 sig figs the way it's written, so this should have been 1.938. And then number 12 right here, this one again 5.0 only has 2 sig figs, so my final answer here should have been 3.4 times 10 to the 23rd. Alright, now the problems down below, again, don't forget you have things written out, like don't forget the known and the unknown, the equation, the work, all that good stuff. So I'll show you the details for 1% error problem, and then I'll just give you the answers so that you can check to see how you did. So for example, number 1, if you were looking for the percent error, I'm going to solve this up here because I'm going to run out of space. Your known, it says that the experimental was 4.25. How do I know that's experimental? Well, because it tells me the correct value, which is another word for accepted, was 4.08 centimeters. And I'm looking for percent error. Okay, so I'll kind of do this in the space over here. You need to make sure that you write the equation. Percent error is experimental minus accepted over accepted times 100. So there's your equation. Then you got to plug and chug. So this is going to be 4.25 minus 4.08 over 4.08 times 100. Now the trick on the math here is make sure you do the subtraction first, order of operations. Okay, your final answer here should be 4.17%. 3 sig figs from your data or 2 decimal places, which is normally the way that I write that out. It's positive, so it means your experimental value was too high. Now number 2, you do the same process. You should have got negative 1.69% or negative 1.7, depending on where you limited your sig figs. I tell you on the test to just give me 2 decimal places, so that should not be a problem. It's negative because the experimental value was lower than the accepted. Okay, only reason it's negative. Now number 3, we just did some density problems. We did one exactly like this. This one should have been 19 grams for your mass. Anytime you see mass, it's grams. 2 sig figs right here, so that's where that limits it. And then last but not least, number 4, you're finding the volume. And if you plugged and chugged correctly, it should have been 31 milliliters. Okay, 31 milliliters. Again, don't forget the known and the unknown, the equation, the sig figs, and all that stuff. And on your unit conversions, don't forget also known and unknown. Make sure everything is labeled. Correct answer, sig figs, correct unit. Good luck on your test. Be good for the sub. When you get done, there are note packets